Hi, my name's Martin, and I'm always up for a challenge. So when I heard about Chinese interlocking joinery, I'm like, yeah, I've got to give that a go. So I bought this book. It's about Chinese furniture, and basically the idea of the interlocking joinery is that you don't use any nails or screws or glue. You just design the joints in a way that when you apply weight to the furniture, the joints actually get tighter so that furniture can last for a very long time without being glued or screwed or nailed together. So yeah, I don't have a lot of tools and I'm not a professional woodworker, but I do like a challenge, and I'm going to try to make a coffee table without using any glue, screws or nails. So let's see how we get on. I've cut all the pieces to length, and I've kind of arranged them here where they go roughly, so now I can see the size and general shape of my coffee table. So I've decided to start by making the top, then I'll make the legs later and then attach them together at the end. I'm going to do that because I think I want to make the legs so that they fit onto the top rather than try and make the top to fit the legs. I think that'll be easier to do it that way around. Otherwise, no other big consideration there. I just think that'll be easier. So these are the pieces for the top. We've got the actual tabletop. These things are going to be sliding dovetails that will go into the top, a bit like on this model, you know, where this bit slides like this. It adds a bit of rigidity to the panel. It also helps to maintain the frame from racking, because this panel won't rack. And if this baton is firmly attached to the panel and then mortised and tenoned into the side rail, then the side rails also can't rack, which helps to keep the corner from breaking apart. So that's what these pieces are. And then of course we've got the 4 pieces around the edge. I'm going to make the 4 pieces around the edge first. And if we look at my little model, I'll take this panel of wood out. If you see, this one opens like this, so we've got to make these 2 pieces basically on these 4 corners. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so now for this one, we're going to mark, you know, from the line all the way down to the end. And nice thing about the marking gauge is, you know, you can kind of roll up to the line. So make a line like this. Okay, and we'll just roll that right up to the line without going over. Okay, and then the most important part is that we mark the other piece of wood with the same marking gauge setting, so that those 2 lines are exactly the same distances from the ends. We also need to mark a 45 degree for this cut here, and at 45 degrees has to match up with that marking gauge line. Okay. So you can see that I've cut this part of the joint, and I've cut this slope here. So you can see, compared with my mock-up, that's these 2 parts of the joint. Okay, put it up against the 3-2-1 block so that I know the chisel is plumb vertical. Drive the chisel down the side. So I'm just leaving a bit of wood there for that purpose. Otherwise, this joint is now complete. Just take off a tiny fraction more. Yeah, that's still pretty tight, but I feel like I could probably hammer that in with a bit of force. I could probably get that in. So I'm going to cut this then using that setting. So this joint is completely finished now, and you know, it's time to see how well the pieces fit together. So when you get that mortise lined up, that bit slides into there. It's reasonably tight, but with a bit of a tap. Yeah, it goes in not too badly at all, actually. So this one is B, so this one's going to go here. This one is D, so this one's going to go here. This one is A, and this one is C. Okay. Well, in all honesty, I think it's a bit too tight. But that's good though, because you can always make your joinery a bit looser, but you can't make it tighter. So yeah, I'm gonna have to ease these joints up a little bit. But this is already a pretty strong frame, considering it has no glue. It actually doesn't rack. It doesn't twist. It's actually really pretty strong. So I improved the frame. I got these joints to go tightly together with the nice miters here, and I don't have to hammer these in so much anymore. There's a little bit of tapping required, but most of the way I can push them by hand, so pretty happy with that now. Once I got this frame assembled, I also cut a slot here because I'm going to fit the tabletop in here. So I very roughly sanded it with the belt sander. It's definitely improved it. It's a lot flatter than it was. It's a bit rough though, so I'm going to also go over it with the orbital sander and see if we can just improve the surface a little bit better. So this jig was pretty successful, and now I have 2 tapered pieces of wood, and I've marked this end with a thin, this end to say that it's fat. So I finished the cutting, and you can now see that there's a dovetail on the end of this piece of baton here, and it's tapered. It's thinner at this end, wider at that end. We should be able to transfer these measurements now to the actual tabletop. So here's a couple of guide clamps to create myself like a track for my router to run along. I'm going to run the router along this track. You can see I've spaced it at the end using a couple of pieces of the offcut from the tabletop, so it's about the same thickness. This tabletop actually still moves, but that's fine, so I can position it where I want. And I'm going to clamp it on the end here to my bench to stop it from moving. And then I'm going to use this as a kind of a fence. I'm going to position this, you know, wherever this needs to be in order to make the cut that I. It does kind of, it's a little tricky to get it started. There we go, it does fit in, it's obviously loose here. As we slide it down, it gets tight at about that point, which is fine. We just need to, you know, take a little more wood off here until it gets further and further down so we can get it all the way to the end. So getting these sliding dovetails to work has definitely been a challenge. Hardest part of this build so far. I ended up having to remake the 2 batons finally, but I have now got them properly sliding, a little bit of tapping required, but these things are now dovetailed correctly into the back of the tabletop. The next step is going to be to cut a rebate here around the edge of the tabletop, so the tabletop will fit into this slot. Okay, so I finished routing a rabbet around the top, and then I fitted it into the groove in the frame. I just squeezed it together a little bit with these pipe clamps because it was a little bit difficult to get it in. But yeah, it's not looking too bad. So I haven't put the batons in yet. The batons need to be mortise and tenon into the frame on the back of the panel. That's the next thing to do. Next thing is to create a mortise and tenon joint around here, so this, when it slides through this channel, will actually lock into the frame. Okay, so I stuck some white masking tape here. I put it all the way around the edge, and all I've got to do is take a sharp knife and just cut it like that. What I need to do now is I need to slide up these batons and then align these pieces of white tape you know, to where they go. So that's where the top fits into the edge when the table's assembled, and then if I slide this baton up here, I can mark on here exactly where the baton goes, and I can do that for both sides. finished cutting one with the chisel. This is the A. Let's see how hard this is to get in. So pretty easy to begin with. I can just push it all the way in with my body weight. Okay, so it's time to see whether this thing will go together, and I think this video is probably long enough already, so if this goes together, which I hope it will, then I think I'll make this part one and maybe build the legs and stuff in part two. So part one is literally just the tabletop, just the top, the sides, and these sliding batons. I've still got to make the legs and these aprons, and I've also got to make like a shelf as well with these kind of joints. So I think I'm going to end this here. This is going to be the end of this video. I'm going to assemble this tabletop. Hopefully it'll go together, and then in part two I'm going to be building the leg and the apron. Okay, so let's put the batons in first. Oh, can't even slide the batons in. Why not? Oh, because they slide in from the other side. So tapered. Okay, so that one goes there. This one, CD. This one goes here. This one seems a lot tighter than it was before for some reason. Oh, it's okay. There must have been a bit of debris in there. So I'll just tap it in until the shoulder comes out. I don't think that's right. Oh no, it's not. Just to go about there. That one goes about there. So that's those in place. Now I need to put the ends. This one is D and B. Put these mortise and tenons together. And hopefully, when they go in, the tabletop will also fit. That's that part done. And next, this is that end. This is this end. Let's see. This is actually too close together for this joint to fit. This joint was fitting before. So I guess we over-tightened the tabletop. Anyway, I can get it in. Just trying to get a tap here. Okay, there it seems to go on. Okay, it requires the use of a mallet, but it does go on. And let's round it a little bit. And we can put this end on. Again, this is actually a little bit tight, but I think it's hard to get it started, but okay. One tabletop. Now for the legs.